Howdy again everyone. The Chinese Viltrox company have launched quite a number of good value autofocus lenses for various systems now, but one had been oddly missing for a long time, a 50mm option. Well, now that's all changed with the new Viltrox 50mm AF f1.8Z. It's been available just for Sony's mirrorless E-mount cameras, full frame or aps-c, for a few months now, but now it's made its way over to Nikon Z mount, and I was curious to see how well the Z mount version performs. It's more expensive than usual for a 50mm f1.8 lens, costing $380 US, and I'd like to thank Viltrox for sending me a sample copy of the lens for testing, although as usual this is a totally independent review. A bright aperture 50mm lens can get beautiful pictures with a nice little emphasis on your subject, and at f1.8 you can get some lovely autofocus backgrounds here, particularly on a full frame camera. They let in lots of light for video making and fast shutter speeds too. This new lens in question has completely typical build quality for a Viltrox lens. The lens barrel is solid and metallic, feeling pretty tough, with a nice brushed finish to it. The lens mount is also made of metal, as you can see, and although there's no weather sealing gasket here, there is a USB-C port for future firmware updates, and Viltrox have a good reputation for keeping their lenses updated. Next, there comes a metallic aperture ring, which turns around without clicks, except to get into auto mode. It turns quite stiffly actually, with more resistance than the Sony E-mount version. At least that will help you to stop accidentally changing the aperture. I'd prefer a mechanism with clicks, myself, although the smooth aperture change looks very nice when shooting video, which is important for some users. The autofocus motor works silently and accurately, but at only an average speed. Another good point for video makers is that the lens doesn't really display much focus breathing, as you can see here, although you do see quite a lot of warping in the corners of the image, which can be distracting. I've noticed this before on some other Viltrox lenses. The lens's filter size is a fairly small 55mm, and it comes with a decently sized plastic hood. The hood can be reverse mounted. The lens does not have image stabilization. Overall, in terms of build quality, it's a very nice little package which feels tough and lovely to handle, but its autofocus really could be a bit quicker. Alright, let's take a look at image quality. I'll start by testing it on a full frame camera, my Nikon Z7 with its 45MP sensor. In-camera corrections are turned on. In the middle of the image, we see fairly good sharpness. Contrast is also good. Over in the corners, the good news is that we see pretty nice sharpness there too, unless you look right in the very edges, and contrast is fairly good too. Stop down to f2.8 and there's a slight improvement in the image corners. f4 and f5.6 look even better. The lens stays this sharp down to f11. Overall, the lens isn't spectacularly sharp, but it is decently so. It's pretty good actually, especially when you stop it down, and it's better than most cheap 50mm f1.8 lenses out there, although its contrast is nothing to write home about. Alright, let's turn off those in-camera corrections and take a look at vignetting and distortion. The lens, as you can see, projects a moderate pincushion distortion, and the corners are quite dark at f1.8, as you'd expect to see. At f2.8 and f4, they brighten up quite a lot though, so it's an average performance here, a bit more distortion than I'd like to see, really. The lens can focus down to only 55cm, which is a bit further away than usual, making it difficult to shoot smaller subjects. At f1.8, close-up image quality remains pretty sharp, although contrast is low. Stop down to f2.8 and that contrast returns. Let's take a look now at how the lens works against bright light. There's an average amount of flaring here, and contrast takes a little bit of a hit. There's also an annoying flash of glaring when bright lights are right on the edge of your image. Next, let's take a look at Bokeh. Cheap 50mm lenses tend to have rather edgy looking autofocus backgrounds. However, this Viltrox lens does very well, and your autofocus areas will always look nice and smooth here, albeit with a strong cat's eye shape to bokeh balls in the image corners. I also noticed an unusual freckling pattern within bright points of out-of-focus lights. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. At f1.8, there's only a little colourful highlighting to be seen before and after the plane of focus here. At f2.8, it's essentially gone. Okay then, well, overall, the Viltrox 50mm f1.8 is a little better than your standard cheap-ass 50mm f1.8 lens. Compared to Nikon's own 50mm f1.8, it's a bit cheaper, its build quality is a bit nicer, but the picture quality of the official Nikon lens is noticeably better, so if having great build quality or saving money are your priorities, then this Viltrox lens is a good enough option. To me, no matter what the competition, it is good enough for me to generally recommend. Thanks for watching everyone. Isn't it great to see some third-party lens options on Nikon's mirrorless cameras? If you find these reviews helpful, then check out my Patreon page in the description below. There, you'll find all kinds of exclusive content for supporters of this channel. Ciao for now.